Hello and welcome to my video analysis of Aaron Burr's character in the musical Hamilton. Today we're going to take a look at the whole soundtrack and follow Aaron Burr's development right from the beginning and to the end. We're going to look at musical motifs, we're going to look at lyrical motifs, and we're really just going to pull apart his character and just see how amazing this character is that Lin-Manuel Miranda created for us. He gave us this villain that we hate at times, but that we also end up sympathising with at the end. You know, how does he do this and how does he change? That's the questions we're asking, and that's what we're going to answer today. So let's hop right into the analysis of Aaron Burr in the musical Hamilton. So the first song we're going to take a look at is Alexander Hamilton, the opening song to the show. And what's interesting about this opening number is that it presents our protagonist through the eyes of the antagonist. The first person we see walk on is Aaron Burr, the villain in our history, which we'll get to at the end. He comes on and he gives these opening lines.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean, by providence impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar?
So right away, Alexander Hamilton has been presented through Aaron Burr's eyes, but not through any eyes, through these envious, jealous eyes, using these derogatory terms towards Hamilton to almost to present right away that jealousy, that friction that's created between these characters. Aaron Burr is our narrator. He is the person who introduces bits of the story as we go along. And this is immediately signified through these opening chords that we hear a lot, this motif of. Those opening chords there, the duh, 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 that bit, it becomes a musical motif that we hear throughout, and it often signifies a bit of narration that's going to come from Aaron Burr. So anyway, let's carry on and listen to the rest of that song.
The word got around, they said this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton.
So right here, we have Aaron Burr come back in, telling the story again. We've had narration from a lot of the other characters, but we're not focusing on them, we're going to focus on Aaron Burr. But again, we've had a bit more narration about how he got to come to New York. They passed a plate around, they get a collection to send him to the mainland. Aaron Burr says, "What's your name, man?" "Alexander Hamilton." Hamilton comes in, and only then do we hear that it's Alexander Hamilton, and only then do we hear it from Alexander Hamilton, and do we see Alexander Hamilton.
Would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead and destitute without a cent or restitution. Started working, clerking for his late mother's landlord, trading sugar cane and rum and all the things he can't afford. Send him all, every book he can get his hands on. Planning for the future, see him now as he stands on the bow of a ship, headed for a new land. In New York, you can be a new man.
Again, we've got Aaron Burr narrating here, just a bit more narration, again, about how he's getting through, and Leslie Odom Jr. does an amazing job on this soundtrack. The emotion in his voice is so real, and you can hear it, that kind of jealousy, that anger towards him, and we don't even know the story. So right now, we want to know, who is Aaron Burr? And if you know nothing about American history, and you're just taking this as a musical, as a story that you know nothing about, who is this Aaron Burr is the question we're asking. Again, we've just got a bit more narration going on throughout this song, but here comes the important bit. We hear all the characters and their relationship to Alexander Hamilton, so just listen.
We fought with him. I died for him. I trusted him.
I loved him.
And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him.
Right away, we have the story spoilt in a way. Aaron Burr comes on, and me, I'm the damn fool who shot him. Now we know that this ends with Alexander Hamilton's death. And if you didn't get that from the title, because if you know about theatre, a lot of plays going way back, especially if you think about Macbeth, Hamlet, they're called Macbeth, they're called Hamlet. Macbeth and Hamlet, they both die. Hamilton dies. So it's kind of there in the title. When a show is named after a character, most times, 9 times out of 10, that character is going to die. And we hear this right away in the first song. We hear the whole relationship between all these characters, and we hear Aaron Burr, the damn fool that shot him. But what's important about this is he's the damn fool that shot him. He's not the guy who shot him or the one who beat him. He's the damn fool who shot him. We hear resentment in his voice. He almost regrets his future self, if you want to see it as a future self that he's talking about, or if he's looking back on it, then he regrets what he's done. So we have the damn fool who shot him. He didn't want to shoot Hamilton. Hamilton was his friend. Later on, we see Alexander Hamilton say, "Burr, my first friend, my enemy. Maybe the last face I ever see." That's right when they're having the duel. We'll get to that. But the fact that he, resents that murder of his best friend is set up right at the beginning, and we know that Aaron Burr is going to be a complex character. He's not going to be the full-on villain who's just only bad. He's going to have this complexity, which is something that I love. And actually, if you know anything about American history, after Aaron Burr and Hamilton's duel, Aaron Burr actually referred to Hamilton as his friend who he shot. I don't know the exact quote, it might appear on the screen, but Aaron Burr would say, "My friend whom I shot." And, that really shows that this wasn't just a villain who was out to get Hamilton. He was a friend and he was conflicted with him. So next we're going to take a look at Aaron Burr, Sir, the second song of the show, where we properly meet Aaron Burr for who he is. We don't really know this is Aaron Burr who's narrating at the beginning. It's not so clear, but this is when everything becomes clear and the two characters meet.
1776. New York City. Pardon me, are you Aaron Burr, sir?
That depends. Who's asking?
Oh, sure. Sir, I'm Alexander Hamilton. I'm at your service, sir. I have been looking for you.
I'm getting nervous.
Sir, I heard your name at Princeton. I was seeking an accelerated course of study. When I got sort of out of sorts with a buddy of yours, I may have punched him. It's a blur. Sir, he handles the financials.
You punched the bursar.
Yeah.
So 36 seconds into the song, and most of this has been dominated by Hamilton's talking, his expressing, "Are you Aaron Burr?" and going off at what he's done. He's just punched the bursar. I like that little play on words, Aaron Burr, Sir, the bursar. Great, nice little bit of lyrics there, Lynn. We love that. But immediately, just listening to it, and not even looking at the words, the way Alexander dominates this conversation is almost their relationship throughout. And we hear Aaron Burr's response to him in just a bit. But we also see that Alexander Hamilton comes to Aaron Burr for advice. He knows that this is someone that he looks up to. He's already accomplished in his field, and Alexander Hamilton wants to be like him. So at the beginning, we're presented as more of like a father-son kind of teacher-student relationship than anything.
I wanted to do what you did, graduate into and join the revolution. He looked at me like I was stupid. I'm not stupid. So how'd you do it? How'd you graduate so fast?
It was my parents' dying wish before they passed.
You're an orphan. Of course, I'm an orphan. God, I wish there was a war, then we could prove that we're worth more than anyone bargained for.
Can I buy you a drink?
That would be nice.
So here we have it now. Alexander Hamilton says, "Aaron Burr, look, what have you done? How did you get here?" Aaron Burr says, "I'm an orphan. It was my parents' dying wish before they passed." And Alexander Hamilton's like, "Yes, I'm an orphan, you're an orphan, this is great." And these parallels between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr are so strong. They both come from similar backgrounds. They're both orphans and they've fought their way up the ranks. And, Alexander Hamilton sees Aaron Burr as a role model now. But we hear Aaron Burr's advice and this kind of conflicts with Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, we're talking. Let me offer you some free advice. Talk less.
What?
Smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for.
Talk less, smile more. Then let them know what you're against or what you're for. This is almost Aaron Burr's philosophy right here. And we see that right from the beginning in a minute, that Alexander Hamilton has none of this. This isn't what he thinks, this is not what he believes. And, they barely know each other and he attacks him in just a bit. But talk less, smile more. That's important to remember. That's Aaron Burr at the beginning. This man who hesitates, who waits for it. Again, that's a song that's coming up. But don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. This indecisity within Aaron Burr's character is vital. And it's important that we remember this.
You can't be serious.
You wanna get ahead.
Yes.
Fools who run their mouths off wind up dead.
Fools who run their mouths off wind up dead. Right there, that's a nice little bit of foreshadowing. Hamilton talks a lot. Hamilton, when he died, left behind so much written work. Aaron Burr left behind only a few pieces. And, that just shows their characters, that Alexander Hamilton talked and talked and talked. He was non-stop. Again, we'll come to that. But that, again, is the difference. Aaron Burr sits back and he watches. Alexander Hamilton just goes. He doesn't hesitate. He's reckless. He does not want to throw away his shot.
Well, if it ain't the prodigy of Princeton College, Aaron Burr, give us a verse, drop some knowledge. Good luck with that, you're taking a stand. You spit, I'ma sit, we'll see where we land.
Again, Aaron Burr's philosophy. He's going to sit back and he's going to watch and he's not going to make up his mind.
Revolution's imminent, what do you stall for?
If you stand for nothing, Burr, what'll you fall for?
Hamilton's words right there. Barely knows him and he attacks him. If you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for? He's turned his philosophy against himself and he's found this weakness off the back with Aaron Burr.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who is this kid? What's he?
I am not throwing away my shot.
So immediately Alexander Hamilton is now this bold figure that everyone has recognised with the who are you? Who are you? And he's, I'm not throwing away my shot.
There's nothing rich folks love more than going downtown and slumming it with the poor. They pull up in their carriages and gawk at the students in the college just to watch them talk. Take Philip Schuyler, the man is loaded. Uh-oh, but little does he know that his daughters, Peggy, Angelica, Eliza, sneak into the city just to watch all the guys.
Angelica!
So the song The Schuyler Sisters, the woman of the story are now introduced. And again, who introduces them? Aaron Burr. And that's important to remember. He is a narrator.
Ooh, there's nothing like summer in the city. Someone in a rush, looking someone looking pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but your perfume smells like your daddy's got money. While you slumming in the city in your fancy heels, you searching for an urchin who can give you ideals.
Sir, you disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me.
I've been reading common sense, but...
So here we now have Aaron Burr meeting the Schuyler Sisters, this kind of flirtatious nature that again mirrors him with Hamilton. They are reliable with the ladies, which we hear about later. Again, it's not so much prevalent now, but you know, Aaron Burr is just almost one of Alexander's friends. He's flirting with the same people, he's in the same crowd. And you know, he starts off, although he's almost more accomplished, he is more accomplished than Alexander Hamilton at the beginning. You know, they hold this kind of same place, they work in the same place with the same people. So the next song that briefly has Aaron Burr in, but it also has, it's very important, what is said about Aaron Burr is Farmer Refuted. So now here we have Alexander's last kind of thing against Samuel Seabury that he says, and Aaron Burr's response, and Alexander Hamilton's response to Aaron Burr's response, which is again really important. So listen.
Your interest don't modulate the key, then not debate with me. Why should a tiny island across the sea regulate the price of tea?
Alexander, please.
Burr, I'd rather be divisive than indecisive. Drop the niceties.
Alexander, please, Aaron Burr says. He's trying to stop him, trying to calm him down, and what does Alexander Hamilton say? I would rather be decisive than indecisive. Drop the niceties. I'd rather stand for something than stand for nothing. I'd rather talk than talk less. You know, he's just flipping Aaron Burr's philosophy and throwing it right back at him. He will rather be decisive than indecisive, and he's telling Aaron Burr to drop the niceties. And that line right there defines Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr's relationship at the start of the musical. So the next song we have is Right Hand Man. That's the next song we're going to be looking at. It's George Washington. He's introduced properly to us now, and he wants a right hand man, and Aaron Burr comes to him, and so does Hamilton. Let's just give that bit a listen.
I'm in dire need of assistance. Your Excellency, sir. Who are you? Aaron Burr, sir. Permission to state my case.
As you were.
Sir, I was a captain under General Montgomery until he caught a bullet in the neck in Quebec. And well, in summary, I think that I could be of some assistance. I admire how you keep firing on the British from a distance. I have some questions, a couple of suggestions on how to fight instead of fleeing west.
Yes.
Well,
Your Excellency, you wanted to see me. Hamilton, come in. Have you met Burr? Yes, sir. We keep meeting.
as I was saying, sir, I look forward to seeing your strategy play out.
Burr,
Sir,
close the door on your way out. Have I done something wrong, sir? On the contrary, I called...
So here we've just heard Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton come to George Washington, and Aaron Burr's come out like, look, I've got some ideas, I've got questions, I've got suggestions. let me be your right-hand man, I can help you kind of win this war. And Alexander Hamilton comes in, and George Washington tells Aaron to walk out, close the door and leave. And he takes on Alexander Hamilton to be his right-hand man. And I think this is important to remember because this sparks almost the first bit of jealousy within them. You know, they're both running for the same job. Like I said, you know, they're in the same crowds, working for the same people, working with the same people, and they both run up for the same job of right-hand man to Washington, and Burr gets denied, and that sparks the beginning of the jealousy. So the next song is A Winter's Ball, and we have Aaron Burr come back in as the narrator with those chords we know so well, that musical motif which is used throughout to represent, you know, the narration and progression of the story.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore go...
And no, this is not the opening song, but these lyrics are the same. We've now got a lyrical motif, the bastard, orphan, son of a whore. And again, Burr's kind of using them in the derogatory term, and that jealousy is shown again. But let's carry on.
On and on, grow into more of a phenomenon. Watch this obnoxious, arrogant, loud-mouthed bother be seated at the right hand of the Father.
Again, the jealousy is now so prevalent here. Watch him be seated at the right hand of the Father. George Washington, the probably most well-known founding father, first president of the United States. And here we have Aaron Burr really expressing that jealousy towards this arrogant character, and we see that kind of hate begin.
Washington hires Hamilton right on sight, but Hamilton still wants to fight, not right. Now Hamilton's skill with the quill is undeniable, but what do we have in common? We're reliable with the ladies. There are so many to devour. Ladies, looks, proximity to power. Ladies, they delighted and distracted. And Martha Washington named her feral tomcat after him. That's true.
So now we flash back from narrator Burr to Burr in kind of the present time. Again, like I said, he's working around, he's with the same people, and he's flirting with the same people. You know, Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton, they're like, you know, they're each other's wingmen. They kind of go around, they're flirting together, and it's not together, but with other people around them. And yeah, that's their kind of friendship. So we see that the jealousy hasn't crept into their personal life yet. It's kind of remained in the professional work environment.
1780, a winter's ball, and the Schuyler sisters are the envy of all. Yo, if you could marry a sister, you're rich, son. Is it a question of if Burr or which one? Hey, 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 hey.
So right there again, like I said, they're flirting with the same people. They're with the same people, and that hey is a brilliant. I love that bit because it's so casual, and it just shows that their friendship is yet to be ruined, and it's still very kind of lad lifestyle. You know, they're young people in this new up and coming country. There's a revolution going on. These are they're soldiers. You know, they are admired men, and that's important to know. Remember, their personal has not been affected yet by the professional jealousy. So the next song we're going to look at is Aaron Burr's biggest kind of song and the beginning of his motif, Wait for It. Wait for It is so important to Aaron Burr's character. It's his philosophy. Like we said, talk less, smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. These are his philosophies. But Wait for It is probably, in the fewest words, sums up his ideas and his mindset at the beginning. And it's important to remember that and to see how it develops. So let's listen to the song Wait for It, and I'm going to stop it and break it down.
Theodosia writes me a letter every day. I'm keeping her bed warm while her husband is away. He's on the British side in Georgia. He's trying to keep the colonies in line, but he can keep all of Georgia. Theodosia, she's mine.
So here we have Aaron Burr presented as a man now who's having an affair with another man's wife, okay? We see the kind of, besides the jealousy, we see the first kind of big flaw in his character. You know, he's having an affair. And actually, this is interesting because, like I said earlier on, Hamilton and Burr reflect each other in so many ways, and this infidelity is also one of the ways where they mirror each other. You know, this is a flawed man, but so is Alexander Hamilton. That's important to remember. But Aaron Burr is having an affair. You know, that's bad. That's not something you want to see from a character. So immediately that kind of puts that negative image in our mind.
Love doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep loving anyway. We laugh and we cry and we break and we make our mistakes.
Love doesn't discriminate from the sinners and the saints. Okay, that line there, doesn't discriminate from the sinners and the saints, is a lyrical motif that begins here and wait for it, and it develops as we go. And that's important. That's also something that Aaron Burr is clearly believing in. He doesn't necessarily think that things are necessarily planned, things just happen. Again, that's his philosophy.
There's a reason I'm by her side, but so many you try, then I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it.
I'm willing to wait for it. Here, we hear it first. Aaron Burr is willing to wait for it. But this isn't such a big thing. Kind of is. He's waiting, to find out, how come he's managed to end up with his amazing girl, Theodosia. Even though she's someone else's wife, that aside, he's kind of questioning love. We get that at the beginning. Nothing too big in terms of the Hamilton-Burr relationship yet. But the big thing is the Burr characteristic of waiting for it and hesitating.
My grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher. But there are things that the homilies and hymns won't teach you.
So again, we get a little bit of Aaron Burr as narrator again. This time he's narrating about his own life, and he's, telling everyone about himself. But interestingly enough, he doesn't focus on himself and his past as much as he focuses on Hamilton's past.
My mother was a genius. My father commanded respect. When they died, they left no instructions, just a legacy to protect.
Again, he's narrating, talking about his family, how they died, and how he's an orphan. Again, mirroring Hamilton.
Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes.
Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and 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 it takes. That lyrical motif has developed from love to death, and these are the things again that Aaron Burr has had these things happen to him, but he doesn't necessarily think it's picking. Life is picking on him. Love and death, they don't discriminate between sinners and the saints. It happens to everyone. And actually, the sinners and saint bit I think is also quite interesting, because Aaron Burr at the end declares how he's the villain in their history. He's down as the sinner, where Hamilton almost goes down as the saint. So let's carry on.
Keep living anyway. We rise and we fall and we break and we make our mistakes. And if there's a reason I'm still alive, when everyone who loves me has died, I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it.
Again, he's waiting for it.
I am the one thing in life I can control. I am inimitable, I am original.
I am the one thing in life I can control. Aaron Burr believes he can control himself and he can control his actions, and he can, but he doesn't necessarily believe that about the other things. It's up to him to decide his own future, but the things that happen around him, he can't change. That's just what he thinks.
I'm not falling behind or running late.
I'm not falling behind or running late. He's waiting for it. He's going nowhere. He's scared to make the move in case he falls behind. That's something. But this isn't... on the surface level, we see it. It doesn't seem as a bad thing. But, waiting for it, he's hesitating, doesn't stand for anything. And yes, he's not running behind. That's because he's got nowhere to be.
I'm not standing still, I am lying. Hamilton pre-season, let's all feel.
And now, only a minute and 58 seconds into the song, do we hear Hamilton's name mentioned. Hamilton faces an endless uphill climb. Again, that jealousy is creeping in to his life.
He has something to prove, he has nothing to lose. Hamilton faces relentless, he wastes no time. What is it like in his shoes?
What is it like in his shoes? Interesting question, Aaron Burr, and he almost finds it out at the end, remembering that Aaron Burr's philosophy, wait for it, Hamilton's philosophy is that he's not throwing away a shot, he's reckless, he's going to keep on going. And what is it like in his shoes? Well, eventually Aaron Burr changes and he experiences life, you know, the reckless life that Hamilton lives.
Hamilton doesn't hesitate. He exhibits no restraint. Takes and he takes and he takes and he...
That's interesting. We've had love that doesn't discriminate. Love that doesn't hesitate. We've got death that doesn't discriminate, that doesn't hesitate. Now we've got Hamilton doesn't hesitate. He's noticed this in Hamilton. Hamilton is almost his character foil, the complete opposite. Hamilton goes for it. Aaron Burr sits back and watches. And the music dies down and he realises in his head he's seeing these characteristics in Hamilton. Again, maybe this is jealousy that's creeping up, but also this is the friction and the conflict between them beginning.
Keeps winning anyway. Changes the game, plays and he raises the stakes. And if there's a reason he seems to thrive, and so few survive, then goddammit, I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it.
Again, he's waiting for it. He's waiting for answers. He's not going out and finding them like Hamilton would.
Life doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes and it takes.
So we've had love, we've had death, now we've got life. Again, so that's it. Wait for it. One of Aaron Burr's big songs in the show, and it just presents him right up at the beginning as the kind of character he is, the hesitating character he is. The next song we're going to have a brief look at is the 10 Duel Commandments. This, states dueling as a theme in the musical, and we have lots of characters explaining the rules of the duel. Aaron Burr says a bit, Hamilton says a bit, and so do loads of other characters, but here there's just a little bit of this song that I want us to focus on. So there's actually a duel taking place. Hamilton and Burr are the seconds for both of these men. Okay, they're the ones who meet face to face to try and stop it, and this bit is important, so listen carefully.
Alexander!
Aaron Burr, sir.
Can we agree that duels are dumb and immature?
Sure, but your man has to answer for his words, Burr.
With his life, we both know that's absurd, sir.
Hang on, how many men died because Lee was inexperienced and ruinous?
Okay, so we're doing this.
So Lawrence and Lee, they're the ones who are having the duel here, and Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, they're the seconds. They're meeting. Have your seconds meet face to face. Okay, they're talking it, and this is actually quite ironic and foreshadows a lot. There's a lot of dramatic irony here that we have both of them say that duels are immature. Can we agree that duels are dumb and immature? Sure, Alexander Hamilton says. So dueling is a theme. Both of them, they're not really for duels, but here we have Burr saying, look, just leave it, let's wait. His philosophy. Hamilton's like, no, none of this. Lee has to answer for his words, okay? And he doesn't care that duels are wrong, he just wants the justice, and that bit there is very important. The next song we're going to take a look at is Guns and Ships, one of the biggest, kind of loudest, big songs of the show. There's a few lovely big, rap and song numbers. This is one of them, and again we have those chords, the duh, 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 which we're going to hear in a bit, and we have narration from our lovely narrator, Aaron Burr.
How does a ragtag volunteer army in need of a shower somehow defeat a global superpower? How do we emerge victorious from the quagmire? Leave the battlefield waving Betsy Ross's flag higher? Yo, turns out we have a... So
we have a few narrators there as well, but we've got Aaron Burr fronting that narration and kind of explaining this thing about this army, and goes on to do it. So nothing too much in development of his character, just the fact that he is a narrator, and that's reminding us. So we now come to the second last song of Act 1, Dear Theodosia. Again, we have Aaron Burr and we have Alexander Hamilton. We're going to take a look at them and their relationship with their children now, and let's just have a listen, and I'll pick the song apart as we go.
Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name. When you...
So Aaron Burr is singing about his child, the child that he had with Theodosia, and named her after her. And again, remember, Theodosia, he had an affair with her, so it's kind of an illegitimate child, but we'll carry on. So was Hamilton. Hamilton was an illegitimate child. A bastard, as we know.
Came into the world, you cried, and it broke my heart. I'm dedicating every day to you.
Although we don't necessarily focus on Aaron Burr's life, his home life and his family life throughout the musical, we hear it here and we hear it in a few odd places, but we present Aaron Burr now is presented as this loving father figure, which, you know, he wasn't really thought of before, and we see this, although it's an illegitimate child and all that stuff, he loves his daughter so much, and that's really important that we remember that, because he's a person, like we're all people, and Aaron Burr is not just a bad villain, he has the capacity to love.
Domestic life was never quite my style. When you smile, you knock me out or fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. You will come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you.
You'll come of age with our young nation. They just won the war, they've come through, they are an independent nation, and he will bleed and fight for his child. And this is important as well, as we hear Hamilton go on to sing as well. They are both fighting for their children, and they love their children and want the world to be the best place for their children, which means all the decisions they make, they have their children in mind now.
If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday. Yeah, you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday.
Aaron Burr loves his kid. What more can we say?
Oh, Philip, when you smile, I am undone. My son.
So now we have Hamilton singing about his son, and we have these two father figures now singing about their children, and the way that, you know, their goals are the same when it comes to their kind of family life.
When you smile, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart.
So we have Hamilton mirroring some of Aaron Burr's previous lyrics. Again, you know, these characters are very similar, and they have similar motives.
My father wasn't around.
My father wasn't around.
I swear that I'll be around for you. I'll do whatever it takes.
I'll make a million mistakes.
I'll make the world safe and sound for you.
Both Aaron Burr and Hamilton, again, they're just singing about how much they love their kids and they want the world to be safe for them. They have the same motives, and you know, we've seen this bit of friction, this jealousy begin to grow with Aaron Burr towards Hamilton, but in the end they kind of want the same thing.
Come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday, yeah, you'll blow us all away.
And, you know, they go on just to say that they love their kids and that they can't wait to see their kids grow up. And, you know, there's a lot of dramatic irony if you know the storyline, if you know the plot, that Hamilton doesn't necessarily live to see his son properly grow up into a man, because not only is his son killed at 19, but Hamilton dies, so you know, it's not a good ending for any of them. So it's really tragic, but it's also beautiful. You know, this love is so raw and so real, and we see that. But now, let's move on to the last song of Act 1, the closing number, Non-Stop.
After the war, I went back to New York
After the war, I went back to New York.
I finished up my studies and I practiced law.
I practiced law. Burr worked next door.
Like I said, they work in the same place for the same people with the same people. They finished the war. They won the war. They went back and now they're both working as lawyers.
Even though we started at the very same time, Alexander Hamilton began to climb. How to account for his rise to the top? Man, the man is non-stop.
So now we have more of that jealousy from our narrator Aaron Burr, and although he's kind of narrates this bit, and it could be seen as impassive, kind of without any bias, but there is that kind of jealousy rooted back there. Hamilton began to climb a lot faster than Aaron Burr, and Aaron Burr doesn't like this, and who does? This is what Aaron Burr was, and he's been doing it for longer than Hamilton, and he's better in a way, and we do hear that a bit as well. But we have the main confliction between the two characters. We have the two main differences between these two characters. Aaron Burr, who waits for it, and Hamilton, who is non-stop, and that's the difference between them. That's the difference between them.
Of the jury, I'm curious, bear with me. Are you aware that we're making history? This is the first murder trial of our brand new nation, the liberty behind deliberation. I intend to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt with my assistant counsel.
Oh, Counsel Hamilton, sit down. A client every week is innocent. Call your first witness. That's all you had to say.
Okay.
Again, this kind of parallels Aaron Burr, sir, where Hamilton speaks for this much when he could have, said that much, and Aaron Burr just is stopping him, controlling him. That happens a lot. Not in like a negative way, but just reminding him to calm down. But is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? That's up to you to decide. But just listening to it, we have Hamilton taking up a lot, and Aaron Burr just a little bit capped on the end, that kind of dominance in terms of their attitude.
One more thing.
Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? So that attitude may be your doom.
Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? Aaron Burr is calling out Hamilton, okay? He's coming front, the jealousy is exploding a little bit more. Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? And then says soon that attitude is going to be your doom, and guess what? That foreshadowing there, that attitude will be his doom. He dies, but not for the reason you may think for at the moment. We'll see when we get to the end.
I do you right like you're running out of time.
Right day and night like you're running out of time.
Every day you fight like you're running out of time.
Keep on fighting in the meantime.
Non-stop. Corruption's a...
Why do you write like you're running out of time? Because he's non-stop. Again, the song's pretty self-explanatory here. Hamilton goes and goes and goes. Burr doesn't. And he doesn't like that Hamilton is better in that section than he is.
An old song that we can sing along in harmony. Where is it stronger than in Albany? It's colonies, economies.
So now we're going to look at a little bit of dialogue between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton. That kind of also Alexander Hamilton acknowledging how good Aaron Burr is at what he does.
Alexander?
Aaron Burr, sir.
Well, it's the middle of the night.
Can we confer, sir?
Is this a legal matter?
Yes, and it's important to me.
What do you need?
Burr, you're a better lawyer than me.
Burr, you're a better lawyer than me. He admits it. He's not as arrogant as he might seem, but let's carry on.
Okay.
I know I talk too much. I'm abrasive. You're incredible in court. You're succinct, persuasive. My client...
I know I talk too much. Yes, you do, Alexander Hamilton. And that's what Aaron Burr's been saying since the beginning. Talk less, smile more. But yeah.
Needs a strong defense. You're the solution.
Who's your client?
The new U.S. Constitution?
No.
Hear me out.
No way.
Here we have Aaron Burr waiting for it. He's afraid to take a leap. He's afraid to take a risk.
Of essays anonymously published defending the document to the public.
No one will read it.
I disagree.
And if it fails...
Burr, that's why we need it.
The Constitution's a mess.
So it needs amendments.
It's full of contradictions.
So is independence. We have to start somewhere.
No way.
You're making a mistake.
Good night.
Hey, what are you waiting for? What do you stall for?
What?
We won the war. What was it all for? Do you support this Constitution?
Of course.
Then defend it.
And what if you're backing the wrong horse?
Burr, we studied and we fought and we killed for the notion of a nation we now get to build. For once in your life, take a stand with pride. I don't understand how you stand to the side.
Pause this video, go back, listen to that again, listen to the song non-stop, because there's a lot in there that, you know, the lyrics kind of explain themselves. And, you know, again, Alexander Hamilton calls out Aaron Burr. We won the war, what was it for? You're sitting here, you're not doing anything. What do you stand for, Burr? What do you stand for? And, you know, Alexander Hamilton says it perfectly right there. You know, again, is he right, is he wrong? I don't think any of them are 100% right, and I don't think any of them are 100% wrong, but let's carry on.
I'll keep all my plans close to my chest.
Here we have the wait for it motif coming back in non-stop. I'll keep all my plans close to my chest, okay? He's secret, he doesn't want to let people know things, you know, he don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. He's still sticking with that philosophy, okay?
I'll wait here and see which way the wind will blow.
Hamilton has very strong opinions. Aaron Burr will wait to see which way the wind blows. You know, he's kind of goes with what the people want. Yes, it's good at times, but he doesn't have those firm beliefs, which Hamilton does have.
I'm taking my time watching the afterbirth of a nation, watching the tension roll.
Watching, remember I talked about him, how he sits back and watches. The next bit we're going to hear in non-stop is Aaron Burr back as a narrator describing their essays that Hamilton got a group of people together to write. And let's have a listen.
Alexander joins forces with James Madison and John Jay to write a series of essays defending the new United States Constitution entitled the Federalist Papers. The plan was to write a total of 25 essays, the work divided evenly among the three men. In the end, they wrote 85 essays in the span of 6 months. John Jay got sick after writing 5. James Madison wrote 29. Hamilton wrote the other 51. How do you write like you're running out of time?
Hamilton wrote the other 51. He's non-stop. This man doesn't stop. He goes and he goes and he writes. And, you know, how do you write like you're running out of time? There's something tragic in that phrase, running out of time. It's like Hamilton knew that his time was going to come, and it was going to come earlier than most people thought, okay? He, growing up in the Caribbean, he says, you know, where I come from, some get half as many. He never thought he would live past 20. Where I come from, some get half as many. He didn't expect to live long, but he made it to New York, and he's doing well, and maybe he thinks he's going to live a full life now, but somewhere in the back of his mind, he knows that his time could come any day, and that's something that it's tragic, that kind of acknowledgement that he might die. But it's like he knew it was coming, and he wrote and he wrote and he left behind his memoirs, okay? And it's great, I love it.
Day and night like you're running out of time. Every day you fight like you're running out of time. Like you're running out of time, like you're running out of time. How do you write like tomorrow won't arrive? How do you write like you needed to survive? How do you write every second you're alive? Every second you're alive, every second you're alive.
Again, we just have Aaron Burr's jealousy, although we've got the company kind of echoing what he's saying and singing with him, but we've got that jealousy and that envy to know how Hamilton does what he does. What is Hamilton's secret? That's what Burr longs to know.
To be satisfied, satisfied,
History
That's it. Act 1 over. Curtains drawn. Hamilton is not throwing away his shot. But what did we hear? We heard a lot of people singing over the top of each other, singing all the things they've said to Hamilton previously. A lot of it just within non-stop, but a lot of it throughout the whole of Act 1. You have how do you write like you're running out of time? That kind of whole motif there. There's many different versions of that, but that's being sung over there. You have history has its eyes on you. That kind of warning that Hamilton, be careful with your life, history is watching. We're here to talk about Aaron Burr. So what's Aaron Burr singing? He's singing the why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? Why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? Motif with, you know, soon that attitude may be your doom. He's singing that over and over again, just foreshadowing that whole end that's going to come in Act 2. But you've got everyone singing over the top, ending with history has its eyes on you, and I'm not throwing away my shot. That is the motif, that is what we're left with. We're left with Hamilton's drive and his want, and Burr there with his jealous, look, why do you assume you're the smartest in the room? That kind of anger that's much more prominent now, and non-stop, that friction is created, and we're going to see that all unravel as we enter Act 2. So thank you very much for watching my first act analysis. I know it's a long video, but you know, there's a lot to talk about, and that is just a shortened, summarised version of Aaron Burr Character. Believe me, I could go on and on and on for hours, but I'm sure you don't want to see that. So that was Act 1. We've talked about Aaron Burr and how he's developed, how he talks less and he smiles more. He's our narrator, and he waits for it. And you know, there's so many things, these being the main quotes we've looked at. The narrator, talk less, smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. Wait for it. And then Hamilton's responses to this. I'd rather be decisive than indecisive, drop the niceties. That is their relationship, Hamilton and Burr's relationship. Hamilton is decisive, Burr is indecisive. And Hamilton is non-stop, obviously, as well. So, there you have it. Aaron Burr in one act. Well, if you want, come along for Act 2, because that's when it gets real. That's when the friction comes out. That's the duel. That's so much happens in Act 2. And I want to be able to share that with you, and yeah, so tune in for Act 2, that'll be out soon. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.